Good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Erica Ngo. I serve as the president of the Asian Pacific Islander Capital Association, also known as APICA. It is my honor to welcome you all to our Solidarity Vigil and Asian Justice Rally as we gather to remember the lives lost to violence, promote community healing, and break the silence on anti-Asian hate. Today, Asian American and Pacific Islander communities are coming together in Atlanta, New York City, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Houston, San Francisco, the Twin Cities, Washington, D.C., and here in Sacramento for a national moment to acknowledge the one-year anniversary of the Atlanta spa shootings, to remember the victims and center the experiences of API women from a place of intersectionality. Today's event is intended to be a space for community healing and solidarity, while also inspiring more conversations among our Asian American community members and civic leaders about the needs of our community as a whole. With so many victims and senseless deaths, let us be thoughtful in our response as we come together to honor the lives and ensure their legacies live on through our collective community actions after all is said and done today. Before we move forward with our program, I'd like to start with a few community guidelines and housekeeping items so that we may create a space of trust and mutual respect amongst all of us present here. First, we will hear from our fellow community members as they share their experiences of anti-Asian hate, their thoughts or feelings, and anything else they would like to talk about. These conversations are often done so with much courage and vulnerability, and so we ask that everyone be kind and respectful today. Second, we will be hosting an open mic portion to wrap up our program. We ask that you speak from the first person based on your experience. For folks interested in participating in the open mic, the sign-up table will be right in the back. There's a blue table where you'll be able to sign your name, an organization if applicable, and then what you'd like to speak about. Third, brave space. As we navigate these sensitive and difficult conversations, we ask that folks be mindful that this space is dedicated to community healing and specifically geared towards uplifting the voices, experiences, and feelings of API women. Are there any agreements folks would like to add or reword for our community conversation? Seeing and hearing none, are there any questions on any of these community agreements? And lastly, can everyone agree to comply with them today? If anyone is in need of assistance, please refer to our volunteers throughout the crowd. And if you need to step away for a moment, please feel free to do so. So with that settled, it is my honor to invite Nilda Valmores, the executive director of My Sister's House, to lead us in the remembrance of the individuals whose lives have been lost.
On behalf of My Sister's House, our staff, board of directors and friends, and our survivors, I thank APICA for organizing today's event. And I thank you all for being here as we gather to heal together as community members. During this 2-year pandemic, we have seen a rise of hate crimes and attacks towards our API community, especially our elders and sisters. In fact, I heard of just one last night in our Sacramento area. Now we stand together to remember and honor the lives of 2 most recent victims. Michelle Go. Today we remember the life of Michelle Go. She was a daughter and sister, born in Berkeley and raised in Fremont, California. She attended American High School in Fremont, where she was a member of the Honor Society and a cheerleader. She graduated in 1998. She went to study at UCLA, graduating with a degree in economics in 2002. She worked as a customer service and sales rep and then obtained her MBA in 2010 from New York University. She then worked at Barclays and later joined the financial firm Deloitte as the senior manager. Michelle was known for her volunteer work for more than a decade with the New York Junior League. Her focus populations were seniors, recovering homeless, immigrants, and under-resourced and academically struggling elementary and middle school kids and parents. We hope Michelle will be remembered for how she lived and not how she died. She was a brilliant, kind, and intelligent woman who loved her family and friends, loved to travel the world and help others. Christina Yuna Lee. Today we honor the life of Christina Yuna Lee. She was a daughter, a sister, and a friend. a daughter of immigrants, and a Chinatown resident in New York. Christina graduated from Rutgers University in 2008 with a bachelor's degree in art history and worked as a senior creative producer for Splice, an online music platform. Her family described her as full of life, radiating positivity, joy, and love. She supported her friends in everything she did. Christina went above and beyond to make those she loved knew she was there for them, never expecting anything in return. She was known to be a Jill of all trades. She was an artist, philanthropist, dancer, and chef. She motivated people in her everyday life and left a huge impact in her community. May we remember Christina, and may her family heal and find peace. Today also marks the one-year anniversary of the Atlanta spa shootings, where 6 Asian women were brutally murdered. Let us pay tribute to the victims by remembering their names and stories. Zhaoji Emily Tan, 49, was a business owner born on the China-Vietnam border. She was known to be full of smiles and laughter and a pleasure to be around. She died one day short of her 50th birthday. Dao Yu Feng, 44. Ms. Feng was new to the area, but known as a friend who was quiet and kind. Hyun Jung Grant, 51. She was a hardworking single mother to 2 sons, and she was a former school teacher in South Korea. She was a strong influence for her 2 sons. Sunsha Kim, 69. Ms. Kim was a grandmother who came to the U.S. in the 80s. She was a hard worker, working 2 to 3 jobs, providing for her family. She was known as a fighter and a rock for her 2 children and her 3 grandchildren. Young Ah-yu, 63, a South Korean native. Ms. Yu came to the U.S. in the 70s with her husband. She was known as a good mother who was always there for her kids. She was happy to be working as a licensed massage therapist. She was an amazing woman who introduced her family and her friends to home-cooked Korean food and karaoke. And Soon Shung Park, 74. She made food for the employees of the spa and spent most of her life in New York before Atlanta. She was known to be very healthy and stayed active. Her son-in-law stated that everybody said that she was going to live past 100. Tonight, we also recognize the many lives affected by Asian Pacific Islander hate crimes, of which 2/3 are Asians and Asian American women. Let us stand together in a moment of silence to remember and honor Michelle, Christina, Emily, Dayu, Hyunjung, Ms. Kim, Ms. Park, and Ms. Yu, and the thousands of other reported and non-reported victims of anti-Asian hate and gender violence. And in that moment of silence, acknowledging their lives and their deaths, I ask that you think of ways that tonight and tomorrow you can continue to honor their lives with actions that help support Asian women in our own backyards, in our own communities, so that Asian and Asian American women in our area may have the economic, mental, and physical health and protections to live to be 100 and to see their children and their grandchildren grow up. I ask that to truly honor the women we are remembering tonight, that you think of ways that we can stop the anti-Asian hate and gender violence that exists here in our region and in our state, in our country and in our world. Will you please now join me for 1 minute moment of silence? Thank you.
Thank you. you, Nilda, for that beautiful tribute. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank all of our elected officials who have joined us here today. And would like to invite Chair of the API Legislative Caucus, Dr. Pan, to share a few remarks.
Well, thank you so very much. I'm Dr. Richard Pan. I actually represent the Sacramento region right here, as well as chair of the API Legislative Caucus. And again, thank you so much for being here, for remembering the people we've lost to AAPI hate, also to remember the survivors of AAPI hate. And unfortunately, that number continues to grow. And we also know that while we're here remembering the anniversary of the loss of the women in Atlanta, that unfortunately it's part of a larger fabric of history, and that we need to continue to combat. You know, your API Legislative Caucus, we worked hard last year to secure funding to address to help support survivors of the hate, but there's so much more we need to do. So again, I appreciate everyone being here to, again, mark this very important anniversary, and there's so much more work for us to do together as a community, and certainly your representatives on the API Legislative Caucus are working hard. In fact, I recognize my Vice Chair, Evan Lowe, who I think hopefully will have an opportunity to speak a little later. Evan. And then, of course, my good friend and colleague in the Assembly, Jim Cooper, as well. So thank you, Assembly Cooper. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pan. Thank you, Dr. Pan. At this time, we will now be joined by Sacramento City Council Member Mai Vang.
Thank you. Are the community folks going after me? I'm gonna try. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I just want to take this moment to say thank you to all the organizers that worked so hard to plan this important event. I'm really proud to be here today to stand in solidarity with all of you. I want to say thank you to the PICA organizers, Erica and Melissa, and all the CBOs. I see a Papa out here, my sister house, and so many other grassroots organizations that's out here today to stand in solidarity with our community. And I also see NAACP here, always an incredible ally, and really appreciate all our grassroots community organization for being here today. Today I join all of you and all our siblings across the world in solidarity as we continue to reflect, mourn, heal, transform, and collectively build a better world for the ones we love. Today's remembrance is occurring for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders across the country today. Whether you are attending rallies, holding space for loved ones, just thank you so much for showing up as who you are. As we reflect on the one-year anniversary of the March 16th Atlanta shooting, it's really important that we recommit ourselves in the fight to ensure that all Asian women, that all women are treated with dignity, respect, love, and protection. Anti-Asian hate, as I've shared, isn't something that is new. Xenophobia, misogyny, it's not new in its frequency or severity, especially in a country that has harmed Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders throughout history. It's not a coincidence that Asian women continue to be disproportionately targeted. Misogyny, gender-based violence, racism has really created an environment for this. This month and over the years, we have seen horrific tragedies here in California and across our country towards our Asian elders, women, girls, and our gender non-conforming community members. I want to share that racial and gender-based violence towards AAPI elders, women, and girls can only be addressed if we invest in community-based solutions that centers education, healing, and solidarity. As Asian American civil rights activist Grace Lee Boggs would say, the only way to survive is by taking care of one another. Our fight for dignity, love, and protection is connected with other communities. And one way to fight a system that was not set up for our families and our communities is to ensure we continue to center those closest to the pain. We do this by decentering ourselves, to understand how we, even as elected officials, participate in systems that oppresses Asian women of all identities. It's incredibly important that we unlearn and relearn the ways in which we may unintentionally be complicit in our systems that continues to perpetuate harms. Questions I often ask myself as an elected official as a former community organizer when I'm in spaces, and questions I would encourage all of us to reflect on. Who is missing in this space right now? What does healing truly look like for our communities? What does justice look like for AAPI girls and women, especially our AAPI trans women and sex workers? What does public safety truly look like for AAPI girls and women? Is it doubling down on a system that hasn't worked? Or is it investing in community-led solution that centers education, prevention, healing, and solidarity? If you listen to the people closest to the pain and you allow the organizers to lead, you will find the answer. I want to take this moment to truly thank all the community organizers on the ground, the women and leaders on the ground for leading the way for transformative community-led solutions. And collectively, as elected, even myself, it is incredibly important that we work with them to create that change. As a city councilwoman in Sacramento, as a first-year term, last March we passed a resolution in the city condemning anti-Asian hate in the city. But that was just the first step. What can a piece of paper do? It was really the action step that followed afterwards that made the difference. It was a series of community-led convenings that followed that allowed space for healing, hearing solutions directly from the community. And now it's up to us as elected officials from the local, from the state, to ensure that we fully support their work in our own policies, in our resources, and our people capital. I want to take this moment to thank NorCal Stop Asian Hate Collaborative, made of various organizations here locally that participated in the convenings that serves our region and our city. I want to thank them for their heart and hustle locally to address anti-Asian hate and really reimagine what public safety can look like for our communities. Together, many of us have been on the ground organizing and advocating to ensure we do everything in our power to protect and uplift our communities. I want to share that the work has not stopped. While many of us are hurting, angry, exhausted, we continue to show up in different ways to fight and ensure collectively we build a better world for the ones we love. It is truly up to us to love, to care, and to keep each other safe. As I've shared in the past, the multiple and intergenerational harm and trauma our community, our Asian American Pacific Islander community holds is painfully deep. And until we stand in solidarity and recognize the humanity of all people, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, our Black community, our Latino, our Indigenous, our LGBT siblings and communities, then hatred and bigotry will continue. So my message today is let's continue to fight together, but most importantly, deepen our care for each other. This is how we can recommit to honoring the lives lost and showing up to fight for a better tomorrow. In the spirit of decentering ourselves, I'd like to hand the mic to community members who are the true advocates in this fight. As always, I will be right here fighting alongside you with our AAPI communities, with all of our communities, to fight for our collective healing and liberation from all forms of violence.
Thank you, Council Member. Before we move on to our next speaker, I'd like to make sure I direct folks' attention to the scroll in the back where folks will be able to sign messages that they would like to share in honor of the victims and any messages you would like. At this time, I would like to welcome Attorney General Rob Bonta. Attorney General. You're welcome.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Good afternoon, everyone. Make sure I get this right. Is it okay here? Let's see. Well, good afternoon, and thankful for the opportunity to join you on this solemn occasion. I want to thank Erica for her leadership and for having me here today. I want to thank the Asian Pacific Islander Capital Association for your longtime advocacy for our API community and for putting on this event today, and all of the other supporting organizations that are represented. That's what this moment is about. It's about solidarity, partnership, allyship, coming together to denounce what we know is unacceptable in our society when it comes to hate and when it comes to misogyny. I'm Rob Bonta, California Attorney General, and again, honored to stand with you in partnership and in solidarity this evening. Tonight, as you know, we mark a solemn anniversary. 1 year since the horrific Atlanta shootings. Tonight, we also remember Michelle Go and Christina Lee. And tonight, we come together to denounce the darkness, the hate, the racism, the xenophobia, the misogyny. And as we do, we also shine a bright light on the ongoing violence against API women in our nation, the sisters and daughters attacked, assaulted, and killed as they simply went about their daily lives, as they walked home from work, as they boarded a train. These attacks, we know, they're disgusting, they're despicable, they're unacceptable. In recent years, the AAPI community hasn't only been hit by a pandemic of COVID-19, API Americans have been hit by a pandemic of hate as well. Fueled from the top on down by the rhetoric of misguided politicians and leaders. But California, as it has always been on so many things, is a beacon of hope, the bastion of diversity and of progress. But even here, we must recognize and confront the reality. Even here, we are not immune from the forces of hate and division. In 2020, anti-Asian hate crime events increased by 107% in our communities, in our state, impacting the entire AAPI community, but especially women and girls. And we've seen an unacceptable surge in gender-based violence, targeting women of color and AAPI women. And we must face the problem to fix the problem. We must recognize the tragedy and the horrific nature of the current challenge. We've seen grandmothers stabbed. We've seen them shot and attacked. We've seen mothers and sisters and daughters hassled, harassed, and assaulted. And this surge is new, but anti-Asian hate and gender-based violence have long existed, unfortunately, tragically. Our communities have, unfortunately, long been targeted. And tonight, as we stand for the victims and survivors of hate and violence, past and present, we say collectively with one voice, we say no more. Tonight we say enough is enough. Tonight we push forward and we move forward together. Amid the surge of hate and violence, our communities have surged into action, organizing in historic numbers, fighting through marches and rallies, education and learning, and policy proposals. And as your AG, as the people's attorney, I've been hard at work as well. As California's top law enforcement officer, I fight alongside all of you. That's why I formed the Racial Justice Bureau. That's why I issued new guidance and resources to help the public and law enforcement. That's why I urge prosecutors across the state to establish specialized hate crime units to support communities, impacted communities. That's also why I launched CARE, our Community Engagement Office, and more. At the California Department of Justice, we're here for you. Our Community Awareness Response and Engagement Team is here for you. Our Victim Service Unit is here for you. And I'm here for you. As I've said many times in this surge of hate that touches so many, that attacks so many because of who they are, how they look, where they're from, I see you, I value you, I am you. And as your AG, with the full force and weight of the law behind me, let me say it loudly and let me say it clearly. Anti-AAPI hate and gender-based violence, they're unacceptable. They're not welcome here, anytime, or anywhere. All of us, we have a lot of work to do, and that's why we're here. We're willing to roll up our sleeves and work together. We know that, and we are committed. We know that we will move the needle and uplift all communities, and that we can only do that together. We're at our best when we work together, and when we work together, when we collaborate, when we partner, there's nothing that we can't do. And so, as we do, let's continue to be guided by the spirit of California, a spirit that's on full display tonight with this incredible group. We are united by, not in spite of, our infinite and beautiful diversity. In Sacramento and across our state, we know Asian Pacific Islander mothers, daughters, and sisters, they make our community stronger. So let's do all our best to continue the fight, to protect one another, to keep each other safe, to take care of one another. Your fights will be my fights. Let's continue the fight together. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General Bonta. I would like to now invite Assemblymember Phil Ting to the stage, please.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always great to be here with my great friend Rob Bonta, as well as Jim Cooper, and to see all of you here today to remember this horrific incident that happened in Atlanta last year. Unfortunately, I wish I could say that anti-AAPI hate is something new, but it's been here as long as we've been here, starting in the mid-1800s when Chinese Americans came to San Francisco, helped build this state, helped build the railroads, helped mine the mines for gold. We saw a huge upsurge back then of anti-AAPI hate. And one of the things that we have to continue to remember and continue to fight for is to understand and know our history. We have a huge part of our community who are recent immigrants. They know the history of the countries where they came from, but they don't necessarily know the history of our community here in this state, in this country. And that's why it's so important for us to make sure that we know Asian American history, that we know ethnic studies, because it's only by understanding the history of how we got here do we know what to do for our future. And so much of that is making sure that our streets are safe so that women, our seniors, our children can walk the streets, get on a bus, go out to eat without fear of being attacked, of being spit on, of being hurt. And that is the state of our community right now, where we too often have people who right now they're staying at home. They're not staying at home because they want to, but they're afraid to take their morning walk. They're afraid to go out to the grocery store. They're afraid to see their friends. And so we are working now to make sure we're working with law enforcement, but we're also empowering community members, community organizations all across the state. I was so proud to work with my other Asian American legislators. We got the largest appropriation in the budget last year of $165 million targeted to our community. You can applaud for that, absolutely. $110 million of that is going directly into our community for community organizations so that they can work with all of us to make sure that we're doing what we need to do on the ground, working with community groups, working with community members to make our streets safer, making sure that they make the connection with law enforcement. I have 2 bills this year that I'm working with, would love your support on. One is to ensure that law enforcement agencies all around the state actually have hate crimes policies. Many of them don't even have hate crimes policies, don't identify hate crimes, so even when the act happens, we don't even know if it's a problem. And oftentimes, we get the data back and it looks like nothing ever happened in those counties or those jurisdictions, but partly because they didn't know what to report. The other part is making sure our state puts together a best practice so that companies, businesses, retailers can also let their employees know what to do when they actually see a hate crime happen in their store. We see videos of people getting attacked. We see videos of people getting yelled at. We need to have a response where we are all coming together. It's not enough only for us to say something. We have to do something. And this is the first step by us being here today. But then we need to take it back to our neighborhoods, our communities, working with our stores, working with our law enforcement, working with our community members to come together. And working with all the other community organizations to say, we have to stand together because we need your help. Just like we go out and we help other communities when they need help, we need their help right now to stand up against the hate. So the unity against the hate is unity within our community, but unity with everyone else in our neighborhoods as well. So with that, let me just thank everybody. Let me thank Apika, let me thank Papa, all the organizers for being here tonight, and really appreciate all of you. Let's make sure we stand up against hate. Thank you.
Thank you, Assembly Member. We truly appreciate our local and state electeds for their advocacy and for taking the time to join us today. If we can get another round of applause for them. It is at this time that we will transition towards hearing from our community members and organizations. What we do as we move forward as a community should be rooted in the voices of the individuals with lived experiences. Let us be reminded of the healing we are striving for today and our community guidelines of kindness and respect as we hear from our fellow community members. Please help me welcome APAPA's statewide internship chair, Andrew Kim, and the president of the Sacramento chapter of the NAACP, Betty Williams.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I would like to thank APAPA for our partnership with the Greater Sacramento NAACP, where I was honored to share the stage at the Black Expo where Dr. Rick Warren, and I understand Dr. Rick Warren is here, right, wave your hand, Dr. Rick Warren, gave APAPA the Unity Award for this community, which I think should stand in applause for them receiving that award this year from the Black Expo. And I am so appreciative of our ongoing partnership. I think also with the hate crime, we should also remember Ahmaud Arbery, who was also affected, a young man running, jogging, was brutally chased and killed and murdered. And as a result of a hate crime enhancement, those 3 individuals are now in prison for the rest of their life. So we are also here. One nation under God, indivisible, and liberty, justice for all. This is one very important statement that speaks volumes to me on this day as I stand before you, as I stand with you in solidarity and in unity. Indivisible means unable to be divided or separated. With liberty, that gives us the privileges to be free, excel, and enjoy one another, and to live a life of freedom from the constraints of massive attacks on us as a person because of the color of our skin, the fragrance of our scent, the beauty of our accent, the biases of our culture, or shall I say, the stinking thinking of our own limited abilities to censor negative self-talk that we, with one mindset in a little at a time, flourishing like a raging fire out of control. Justice for all says that the system in which we live here all together on this earth has the obligation to punish the guilty, protect our liberties, and rehabilitate offenders. I have a question for all of us. How do we rehabilitate hate? Are you guilty of a biased misconception of any of your brothers or your sisters on this earth? If you just said to yourself, then you are guilty. And what would be the fitting punishment for us or for you? Let us go back to one nation under God, which means decreed freedoms. If we are truly one nation, that means we are all in this together. We may not always see eye to eye. We are unique and different. And when we stand together with one mindset and one agenda, we should be able to cultivate the gold in one another. With love and respect, then and only then, we will truly be one nation under God, indivisible, with justice for all, an unstoppable force to be reckoned with. What is your call of action today? Together we can do all things but fail. How will we heal our land from the toxicity that is trying to overtake our nation? What are you willing to commit to today? How can we be an example as a community or as community leaders and supporters for one another? How will we show up for one another after today? There is so much work to be done legislatively, organically, between all of our organizations present right here. I'm very proud of the officers of the NAACP that are standing with me and beside me on this day. For sustainability and accountability to stand united together for our marginalized communities that are suffering in silence. We are born to be free, living our best lives in peace and harmony with one another. As long as we are still alive, we can revive the justice for all. Can I count on your partnership with the NAACP and APAPA and all the other organizations to stand together today? And if I can, I'm going to do a chant. I'm going to say something and I'm going to ask you to repeat it, and so we'll do it together. So starting now, I'm asking you to say, today, we can. Tomorrow, we will. Our future, we shall prevail. And I thank you on behalf of the Greater Sacramento NAACP. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty Williams and the NAACP, for your support and solidarity. My name is Andrew Truman Kim, APAPA's internship chair. It's my honor to be here on behalf of APAPA and our APAPA founder and leaders, and over 1,000 APAPA female interns, volunteers, community partners spanning 13 states, to thank APICA for organizing today's tribute for the victims of last year's racially motivated killing in Atlanta, and the many API women and seniors who've been victim to hate crimes. API women and seniors are some of our most vulnerable community members, and we are deeply moved by all of you for standing up to protect our vulnerable communities. Remembering just last year, how many of you stood up, took action with us, joining our Unity Against Hate rallies, over 20 rallies across the nation, letting the world know that we are not invisible. We are deeply moved by the many leaders and partners, including the NAACP and Assemblymember Jim Cooper, and many others, for joining us in solidarity, remembering Dr. King's words that an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Finally, we're deeply moved by our many activists willing to continue to take action, to remain vigilant in our enduring fight for civil rights and racial justice for all. And in that spirit, we hope you can join us. Join APAPA right here at the state capitol on June 23rd to commemorate the 40th anniversary of Vincent Chin's death, remembering this critical point in API civil rights and the work we must continue to do across the United States to let the world know we are united against hate. In closing, Michelle Obama said this: when they go low, we go high. As we tribute to our many victims and families, let's remember that we are not alone in this fight and that we will overcome together. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew and Betty. I would like to now bring up Nia Nguyen, an organizer with the Asian American Liberation Network.
You know, we Asian Americans and Asian and API folks, we have to walk a very thin line. We have to struggle and internalize and deal with racial triangulation within our community, right? We are caught between black and white and all of the other, sorry, my dog, sorry. All of the other stuff that racial triangulation does. And if you don't know what racial triangulation is, it's basically when the white side puts us in a bind and the black side puts us in a bind. And we don't know which side to choose. That is something that we really have to struggle with. And one of the things that I really want to say first before I begin saying anything else is that Black Lives Matter. Was it not a year ago when we were here, out here, and on the other side of the Capitol, and there were tanks everywhere, And there were activists everywhere fighting for racial justice, fighting to end white supremacy, fighting to end police brutality and murder happening, not just here in California, but in this nation. That is combined with gender justice, racial justice. And that is something that we all have to deal with here in this country. And my Asian siblings, I want us to be very intentional about solidarity when we are talking about connecting race in this country. We do not need more legislation for the law to kill more black and brown people in this country. They are also doing it to us Asian people, to our Asian brothers and sisters. ICE is also sending off our brothers and sisters out. Yes, this year is the 1-year anniversary of the Atlanta shooting, which, by the way, was caused by a white supremacist. He went there because he saw many of these women not as people, but as sexual objects. And I also want you to remember that the My Lai massacre happened as well. Today is the anniversary of the My Lai massacre. And if you don't know what that is, for the newer generation, it's basically when United States military came to a Vietnamese village, raped women, young boys and girls, and killed and slaughtered so many people. That is white supremacy. That is racial inequality. That is real anti-Asian violence. Don't forget that.
Don't forget Native Americans.
Thank you. We are on unceded Miwok, Nisenan, and Maidu territory.
Yes.
This is the line that we have to walk when we are Asian Americans. We are strangers on this land, and they see us as such, and they will always see us as such until we make ourselves clear that we are against white supremacy, imperialism, anti-capitalism, and all of the other forces that are really harming our communities. And I know this is a topic that we don't want to talk about because the American dream is deep within our core. The American dream is like a drug to us Asians.
Join forces with Native Americans.
That's all I really have to say. I think I've boiled enough blood today.
I would like to invite Kat Parpana, the Director of the Strategic Asian and Pacific Islander Retention Initiative at UC Davis, to share a letter to the community.
Thank you, Apika. My name is Catherine Joy Pagadwan Parpana, and I do also go by Kat. I would like to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered. This area was and still is the tribal land of the Nisenan people, and I would like to acknowledge that we are standing on the tribal lands of Sacramento's indigenous peoples. I am a transnational mixed-race American, and I stand before you as a fourth-generation woman as part of the Filipinx American diaspora, raised across the occupied Pacific Rim and as a military daughter. I am a UC Davis Aggie and a Sacramento State Hornet. I'm not a morning person, and I'm much more agreeable after coffee. I'm a lover of books. I am a good driver. I like plants before the pandemic, and I really don't like mayonnaise. I'm a huge Disney fan, a cat mom, and I really love Sailor Moon. I have a mom, I have aunties and lolas. These are fierce women who raised me, and I think of them often when I see another woman senselessly attacked because she's just existing. I have a dad, uncles, lolos. These are courageous, albeit stubborn, and also loving men. And I think of them when I see another man thoughtlessly attacked because he too is existing. I share all of this with you to show you that I am complex, I am messy, I am learning, I am imperfect, I am human, and I endeavor to belong just like everyone else here. That I come from a family that is complicated, and I love them just as they love me. We all know what it feels like to belong, and it's a remarkable sensation where we might find ourselves thinking, wow, these humans think I'm bearable and they want to hang out with me. This might look like joining clubs, being with family, cooking with friends, going to service, connecting with your support group, practicing with your hello. Similarly, we might know what it feels to be excluded, especially now. Our community and everyone else is seeing and feeling the violence of that exclusion. This silence is unbearable. According to a survey conducted by the National Asian Pacific American Women's Forum earlier this year, and this was data already shared earlier, 70% of ANPI women's mental health was impacted due to the fear of gender and or race-based discrimination, harassment, or violence. 1 in 10 women reported experiencing gender and or race-based physical violence in the last year alone. 38% of ANPI women reported experiencing sexual harassment. And a study conducted by Stop AAPI Hate found that hate incidents targeting ANPI people exceeded 10,000 reported cases in under 2 years. And these are only the reported cases. But this is nothing new for us. It is just more visible, more accessible, and streamed. We all know what it feels like to be ignored, rejected, locked out. Our Black siblings know this. Our First Nations siblings know this. Our queer siblings know this. Our fellow siblings of color know this. This is why when one of our siblings hurt, we hurt. This is why when one of our siblings demands justice, we all demand justice. Sometimes it is difficult to demand this justice, especially in the moment. We see something happening and we want to intervene, but are not sure what to do. Maybe we're scared. Perhaps we're so angry it immobilizes us. Or maybe we just cannot do anything at all. We all grapple with this decision. How do we move from being a bystander to being an upstander? How do we ask our fellow community members to even do this for us, for our elders, for our family? In my work as a diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioner, it is important to think about what small things we can all do within our respective spheres of influence to be change agents. This makes equity more tangible, more accessible. Equity is how we get closer to the idea of equality, where everyone can belong. It gets us closer to the promise that is inclusion. An upstander is someone who, like an ally, uses their privilege in an actionable way to interrupt some precluding behavior. An upstander should also consider the risks that they can take on. Intervening can look like interrupting the action directly. This means that that person probably has the most privilege and are at the lowest risk. Delegating looks like letting someone else act. They might have a lot of privilege, but the risk they take on may be a little too great. And distracting can look like interrupting in another way. There is little to no privilege here for that person, and they are at the highest risk, if not the same as the person that they are trying to help. In my culture, Tagalogs have a saying, isang bagsak. This means one down, one fall. Its significance is a call to action regarding solidarity. This phrase is traditionally followed by a unity clap, which symbolizes the heartbeat. We begin by placing our hand over our heart and we feel the rhythm of the heart as it beats. Slowly we will clap together, softly at first, but steadily our clap will grow louder, and then we'll applaud together in community. This clap solidifies the importance of our shared experience as a community, what it means to be a tribe, and how our collective rises and falls together. I think this is what Isang Bangsak is in practice, when we can shift from being a bystander to being upstanders, when we can feel our collective heartbeat and understand that this is not right and I want to do something about it because they are me and I am them. I might not know what exactly they are going through, but I have been in this position before. And so I ask you now to join me in community by placing your hand over your heart and listen to your heartbeat as I listen to my own. And when you are ready, clap along with me. Isang Bangsak, thank you for being here, showing up for us, and belonging with us.
Thank you so much, Kat, for that beautiful tribute. It is now my pleasure to welcome APICA's Communications Director and one of the organizers of this event, Melissa Sagun, to lead us in the open mic portion, which you can still sign up for in the back. All right. Thank you all so much for being here. This is such a wonderful turnout. We, as APICA, truly value having our community members here, standing and healing together. Again, we will begin the open mic portion of our event. We invite anyone to now come forward and speak up about the ongoing hate crimes in our API community, however they feel, and whatever calls to them. And if you would like to speak, we do have a sign-in sheet in our back table over there. We ask that you fill out your name, organization if applicable, and the subject that you would like to talk about. And please note, again, the community guidelines we've stated in the front in the beginning of our event is, we have a 2-minute time limit and be respectful of other speakers. As a refresher, the community guidelines are as follows: be kind and respectful. Speak from the first person based on your experience. This is a brave space, and the space is dedicated to community healing and specifically geared towards highlighting the experiences and feelings of API women. Simultaneously, we will be holding a message jar and paper scroll activities at the same table where community members can voice their feelings on paper. So we invite you to share your words and feelings there as well. So our paper scroll specifically will be in conjunction with all of the other API Justice Rally messaging throughout the nation. So please be mindful that this will be shared on social media. And with that, let's begin. First, I would like to invite Oranet, the president of APALA. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Give a round of applause for her, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, API friends. My name is Oranet Limani Bersert, and I'm the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance Sacramento chapter, APALA, Sacramento. It is my honor to be here to speak with you. I'm trying not to break down. The shooting in Atlanta broke my heart. I identify myself with those 6 women who were killed. I too came to this country as an immigrant. I know what they suffered, what they went through. I know that many people look at us and say, oh, you are an Asian woman. You must be one of those sex workers. Think about what the police chief in Atlanta talked about these women. That is not acceptable. I now teach at American River College. I have a doctorate, I have a PhD. I contribute to the society. I have a place in this country. All of us have a place in this country. We are not visible, and we are not forever foreigners. We are productive members of this society, and I urge you to reach out to all the women in your lives. And I'm talking about women specifically because I identify with those 6 women. I watched the video of their young children who lost their mom. I cannot imagine what these children would be like in the future. So please, reach out to the women in your life, especially those who might be perceived as passive, submissive, obedient, and sex workers. We are not. We are not forever foreigners either. We are productive citizens of this community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ornette, for coming here and sharing your remarks. It is so appreciated, and want to share a lot of love with you for coming up here. Next up, we have Alana Matthews. I'll invite you to the stage, Alana. Thank you so much for being here. Let's give her a round of applause, please. Thank you. Here you go, my dear. Yeah. Here, let's go. Thank you. And I also want to say that as a mom and a community member, I also identify. We are honoring March 16th as a sacred day of remembrance to grieve and care for each other as we ready ourselves to continue the long and difficult work of dismantling layers of oppression and violence that target massage workers and innocent, productive members of our community. Not only is this the day where we remember the 8 people, including 6 Asian women massage workers who were murdered at spas in the metro Atlanta community a year ago today. This is also the day that Latasha Harlins, who 31 years ago was killed in a Korean American shop and sparked the 1992 LA uprisings. It is also the day we remember the atrocities of the My Lai massacre and the women and children killed on March 16, 1968, during the Vietnam War. It is a day that reverberates throughout history and reminds us that our struggles against hate, supremacy, patriarchy, and imperialism are all intertwined. It is a reminder that we need each other. Our futures depend on each other. I hope I don't mispronounce this, but there's a Vietnamese expression that says chia bon. It's used for expressing condolences. It translates literally into divided sadness. The Vietnamese expression captures the acts of dividing grief, of cutting it into small little pieces to split among each other so that each of us individually carries a much lighter load. I stand today in solidarity, and I say chia bon, as an African American standing in solidarity to carry the grief of this day and this moment. And as I look around and I see members from all races, all ethnicities, we all stand together carrying a much lighter load as we share in the grief, as we share in the struggle, and as we share in a more hopeful, safe future for all of us. Thank you. All right, thank you so much, Alana, for coming up here and sharing your remarks. Up next, we have Bao Huang with SCIFA. Bao Huang, if you're up here, wonderful, thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Bao Hong, and I would like to share my story. My family had came here since 1980. We've been here like 42 years. And we love Sacramento very much. It's the best place. And compared to the whole country, this is the best place. Weather, condition, everything. We build our welfare. Now, why do my moms come here? From our history, from my family history, my moms and grandparents in China, somewhere in China, they moved because World War II happened. They pushed them. By the 1950s, my mom and grandparents moved to the South China, between China and Vietnam. And my grandparents' mom moved into Vietnam, North Vietnam, and slowly into Central Vietnam. And my mom had started a family in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. We built our wealth over there. And when Vietnam War hits, the communists coming, we moved again. In 1975, we moved in Vietnam, in the Phu Quoc Island, out in the Pacific, South China Sea. And by 1980, we barely crossed the sea into Thailand refugee camp. And we got here, we were very lucky, we made it. This is the best place to live and to build our family wealth. Within the 42 years, the first year in America, I seen the hate within us already. I go to school, go out in the park, go out to the American River. We got harassed all the time. One of the things I believe, why is the hate right here? Maybe because we lost our dream. Most Americans lost our dream. We supposed to build a family. Work hard, build your welfare. If you do that, if we all do that, we probably doesn't have time to hate each other, you know? That's what I did. I don't go any place. I don't go out and eat or do anything. Actually, I work at this Capitol. I take care of the ground right here as a groundskeeper. Tomorrow morning, my coworker will clean up all the mess right here, will blow it clean. It's not how much we made. I'm a very disciplined and hardworking person. You know, with little bit, we okay. You know, we love this country very much. Hopefully in the future, I don't have to move my family into South Pole. Thank you.
Thank you, Bao, for being here and sharing your remarks. You are so appreciated here. And yes, we'll move on to the next person. We have May Saipan with California Asian Chamber of Commerce. I'll go ahead and invite you here. May Saipan, if you're here, last call. Seeing and hearing none, we will move to the next person. Next we have Nith Pongkyu, and let's go ahead and give her a round of applause, please, coming up. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I will go out of your way. Go ahead. Good evening. Such an honor to be a part of today, this evening. I'm an Asian Pacific Islander ladies, and my story is still very fresh. My name is Neth Pongkel. I'm a businesswoman here in Sacramento. And my incident happened, the hate crime, that's what I want to talk about. Just last Friday, my car got hit. I got pepper spray on my face and got robbed. Right there in broad daylight, that's Friday on Franklin Boulevard. And the incident happened so quick. I think they followed me, hit my car just a little bit bump, just get my attention. Once I stopped, I got out the car to check on my car. Next thing when I look up, pepper spray on my face. And the woman run to my side of my car, grab my bag. And that's when I call out for help. Luckily, the two suspects got caught at the same day. And I am safe and still traumatized. Believe me, the hate crimes, it can happen to anyone. And the target, I think they target me because I'm a little Asian woman. And a lot of time that I know is most of the times are Asian elderly and Asian little women. They think they will have the power to get you. Easy target. And this is a broad daylight. It could happen to me, it could happen to anyone. So here I am, a noise today will save life. And I appreciate all of you to make some noise, to save life, to make a community safe. We are here in the land of the free, but it's so scary and dangerous. So therefore, together we can do this. I mean, I am alone, I cannot fight. But together we can do better. And don't hate us. We are human beings too. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Nith. We appreciate you coming here and sharing your story. Next, we have Dr. Tikoi Porter with the National Action Network, Sacramento. Awesome, thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you. Dr. Porter, here you are.
Thank you.
Of course.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Reverend Dr. Tikoi Porter, and I am the senior pastor of the Genesis Church here in South Sacramento and founding president of the Sacramento chapter of the National Action Network, also a proud member of the NAACP. As it has already been mentioned, today marks 1 year of the tragic mass shooting of women of Asian heritage in the Atlanta area spas. And as we stood with you before, we stand here to say again that we are with you to denounce the hate attacks that are happening against our AAPI Asian sisters and brothers in California and in this country. Hate has no place in America. And I want to encourage you, our API brothers and sisters, to continue to use your voice that you have found. You found your voice, so keep using it. Don't let no one take it away, because your voice matters. Don't let no one force you back into being silent about the hate and discrimination that occurs against your community. Why? Because your voice matters. Don't let no one take your voice away and accept the scapegoating of our Chinese brothers and sisters for this COVID pandemic. Why? Because your voice matters. Don't let no one take your voice away about your proud heritage, cultures, and right to call this land of America your home. Why? Because your voice matters. So I'm standing here today to let you know, to cry loud, spare not, for you are not alone. You are not alone in your struggle. You are not alone in your pain. You are not alone in your tears. And you are not alone in this fight. We are with you. Can we say it together? We are with you. One more time. We are with you. And just like when many of you stood and marched with us for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and for Stephon Clark, we continue to stand with you for what you are enduring now. We are at a turning point in our state, nation, and in our democracy. And we have a generation who is willing to stand together, march together, pray together, and come together to say, we will not be silent anymore, because our voice matters. Can we say that together? Our voice matters. One more time. Again, my name is Reverend Takoi Porter. It's my honor to be here with you tonight. No justice, no peace.
Thank you so much, Dr. Porter. Really appreciate those wonderful remarks. Next up, we have Sean Yang. I'll invite Sean Yang to come up here. So are. Great, let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you, thank you.
Good evening. I'm very honored to be here tonight with all of you. First and foremost, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you, because without all of you being here, it would mean not much. And thank you to the organizer, APICA, APAPA, and all other organizations. And thank you for the local news for showing up as well. To tell our story of pain, hurt, fear, all of the above, that we as Americans should not have to live with. We should live with joy, freedom, and opportunity to reach our goal and fight for our dream. Almost a year ago, May, we had an anti-Asian hate rally here in the Capitol, just right around the corner. Almost 1,000 people show up. And I say it then, and I want to say it now as well. We as Americans, as one people, one nation, we have no place for hate, bigotry, violence, and racism. You guys agree with that? We have no place for that. No place for that. And I say it again tonight, that we have no place for that. Hate, racism, bigotry, violence, there's no place for that. We are one community. Doesn't matter if you're black, brown, white, or any other color, because we help our community as professionals, as volunteers, like tonight, and professional as healthcare worker, mailman, firefighter, nurses, doctors. I'm an engineer that worked for Kaiser on daytime. I'm a volunteer for our Papa any other time, whenever they need me. I'm a school board for Elk Grove Unified School District, 5th largest school district in California. I'm doing my part, and we all here doing our part. The last message I want to send out to all of us and the people at home is that, please, let's hold the people who conduct hatred, violence toward anybody. Let's hold them accountable alone. Let's not generalize a group of people. Let's just hold those individuals that practice and conduct these horrific crimes and hate. Thank you. God bless us all.
Thank you so much, Sean. Appreciate that. Look, next up, we have Nadia Johnson with the Yellow Heart Committee. Nadia Johnson, if you're still here. Lovely. Thank you so much for being here. Let's give a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. As I was thinking about when I was going to come up here, I had to think about what I want to say. And what I want to say is that I run a trauma org, and what I've seen today is collective trauma. Trauma from what Asian women have experienced, trauma from what's in the news, and trauma from COVID. But most importantly, what I see here is unity. And that's what's making me so happy, because I know that there is a community here who wants to help each other, who wants to support one another, and wants to see change. So all I want to say tonight is just thank you all for showing up. Thank you for the collective power. Thank you for the unity that we all provide, because it is so critical that we show up for one another, not just for our own races, but for other groups as well. And we need to leverage whatever privileges that we do have and are afforded to be able to make change. And that change comes in different ways. It shows up like this, and it shows up through legislative change. So I'm here just advocating that we need to keep using our voices, keep speaking up, and keep holding accountability to everybody. So thank you so much. It's so beautiful to see so many people, and I really am praying for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those remarks, Nadia. Next up, we have CC Yin with the Papa. If you are still here, give him a round of applause.
Well, I wasn't prepared to speak. I was here because my daughter Mary told me I need to be here to show up support. And I'm very proud. Well, look at that. Yeah. Sean and Ram, right, left and right with me. Okay.
Right behind
here, Douglas, another hardcore. Mary, my daughter too. Wonderful. I'm very proud to be part of you here today. We share, you come here, spend the time, entire afternoon, beautiful springtime here to see your friends and your passion together. We share one thing in common. You heard so many people, Betty, other elected folks talk about just one thing in common. If we look at the Capitol here, on the west side, the sun's on the west. You look up there, the statues. This is California. It's part of the United States of America. Was born 280 years ago by immigrants from Europe, then following African American, then following Hispanics, Spanish, then following Asians. This country is built by immigrants over the native Indians. It's still a country. But we come, you know why you all come? Your grandparents, like me, I'm first generation. We all come from one reason. Because we had some trouble in our own homeland, whatever it was. And we can't survive or live or die. That's what we came here for. Then some was born here, my children. Some of you born 5, 10 generations, same thing. So if we know history, what it meant, why they came. The Europeans come here, liberty, freedom. They were discriminated locally, or they had war, the criminals like that, yes. We come the same way, same reason. We're all victims of our own country, something went wrong. Or foreign invasions, for instance, in World War II. You know, few countries tried to invade other country, we got in trouble. The kids, no place to go to or to eat. The parents all died of stuff. Today happened, you know, Ukraine. I just want to say we are here, share one thing in common. You are most passionate. You take a whole afternoon out from your family, your friends. So many things you do, but you choose to come here, seriously. That's what I choose to come here, because I want to be with you, share the same feeling. So what do? We're here with one wish, same one you wish, same purpose, is to make America a better country. That's it. Like the immigrant before us. The European come here for a good mission, they tried to make country, they did. The African come here was so slaves, they did. The Spanish come here, you know, low labor, they did it. The Asian come here, they did it. That's it. Nothing wrong with it. It's a great country. That's why I'm my age, my daughter, you know, all volunteer, my friends here, Sean, everybody else here is Douglas, Ram, you know, we're here. You are the ones make it happen. You're the leaders. You sacrifice your time, energy, and money, and everything else you sacrifice, your family. Yes, you are the ones. I want to be here with you.
Okay. Thank
You are
so
just,
much.
let me finish the last one. So what do? Like you said here, America's a great country. We need you. So we have to do it. We did it after African American create some kind of civil rights, allow us to come. Before we were killed too, you know that. That's okay. That's okay. That's past. Tomorrow, America is still the best. You and I can change it. When we're organized, right now it's organized NAACP, Asians follow them because we follow them. They create this equal right for us. Otherwise, they won't allow us to come in. So we thank you so much, everybody, and especially you are here to build America tomorrow. What do we have to do? Organize, work together, put your time, energy, and money, and build a team like the NAACP and like others to change America fast. That means you have to go out and find your friends, your mother, father, your children, like I find my kids, those guys too. I don't even know them. You find them. Seriously, put it in an organization. You build an army, true army. No guns, no knives, but social, economical, political army. Really organize it. That's how you change America. Just crying out and being a weak person, being nice, that you're not going too far. You will not go any further. Organize it, work together as one common army, build an army. Organization structure, a lot of money, a lot of structure, a lot of people. Go out, become decision makers first. You have to be decision maker, be part of the decision maker. You're not sitting on the table. You have to say, I'm going to chair the table. Don't say, I'm going to sit down. Don't just complain about it. First to complain, we need to. But now you're ready to be not on the table. You have to chair the table. I know you're ready. I want to see that happening in the next 10 years. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Last but not least, we'll have Douglas Shaw share his remarks, and then we'll close off our event.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, compatriots. Well, my name is Douglas Shaw. I'm the chairperson of Lock Management Association. Lock is a historic town, a national historical landmark that is created by Chinese who built the levees in the 1800s. And we created this fertile land of America. We are very blessed to live in this beautiful country, and we are very blessed that we are given the opportunity to say our piece on this platform. And we have the media here, and we thank the country for this. What I'd like to talk about today is the subtle racism. Subtle racism is all around us. And even I am in the community, I can feel that. And I'm glad that the country has introduced AB 101, that is to integrate Asian history into our K-12 curriculum. And this is the most important because I think the country has basically successfully done away with this blatant racism. That is done away with. But we need education to help dissolve this subtle racism. And I am here to talk and to remind us that we all play a part. Whenever we have opportunity, tell them how you feel. Because some people, they don't mean to be racist, but they don't know. But we are there, we feel it. And in a very friendly way, in a very positive way, tell them, explain to them. And that's all I want to say. We live in a great country. God bless America.
All right, thank you, Douglas. Thank you to all of our community speakers who have signed up for our open mic. We really do appreciate hearing all of your remarks. And with that, I will hand it back off to Erica to close us off.
So thank you everyone for joining us today for today's Solidarity Vigil and Asian Justice Rally. It is our hope that everyone had the opportunity to honor all of the lives lost, reflect on how we can further support and uplift not only our community as a whole, but API women in particular. And lastly, that we were able to find solace in this healing process together. As we leave today, let's take the lessons we have learned and use the stories we've heard to inspire further actions and our next steps in advancing the movement towards justice, equity, and inclusion. I'd like to give a special thank you to all of our speakers, our elected officials, our community members who shared their voices with us today. We'd also like to thank all of our supporting community organizations where we wouldn't have been able to do this without your support. So thank you to APAPA, My Sister's House, everyone. Thank you. Almost done. These organizations graciously put together a resource guide of the many local and national organizations available, which you can access via the QR code also on the table. If you'd like to stay connected with us, there's a sign up QR code as well. And lastly, please make sure to, if you haven't had a chance to, sign the scroll and share any messages you would like. I'd like to give a really big shout out to the rest of the APICA board, and especially to Melissa, who's played such a huge part in organizing this event. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and have a good evening.